Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Me-Arcone podcast, a podcast where we explore the world of ADR, the stories behind it, as well as the people who truly make it move. If you've been enjoying our videos, please leave a comment down below. Your feedback really, truly helps us grow. A brief introduction from my side. My name is Katlego Bridgette Tlhokwane, and I'm a fifth-year law student from Botswana, currently studying in New Delhi, India. And I'm an intern at the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution. Now, a brief intro of our podcast and its initiative. Me-Arcone is a podcast initiative by the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution in New Delhi. Here, we explore how conflicts can be resolved smarter through arbitration, mediation, negotiation, and other party-centric approaches, and how we can do so in a way that saves time, saves costs, as well as preserves relationships between the parties. This season, we are zooming out and we are crossing borders. Season 12 focuses on Indo-African perspectives, creating a space where professionals from India and Africa share their insights, experiences, and lessons from their unique legal landscapes. Together, we explore how different cultures approach conflict and what we can learn from one another to shape the future of dispute resolution. Now, today we have the honor of featuring Mrs. Sheillah Chizah, a lawyer, an accredited arbitrator, certified professional mediator under the Judiciary of Kenya, and the founder of Chizah and Associates. With a strong academic and professional background spanning corporate law, international commercial arbitration, public international law, and oil and gas law, Sheillah brings a truly multidisciplinary perspective to the world of alternative dispute resolution. She's also an adjunct law lecturer, a legal researcher, and a passionate advocate for mental health and inclusive justice, with additional skills in Kenyan Sign Language and multilingual communication. Her work truly reflects a unique blend of legal scholarship, practical ADR expertise, and commitment to accessible and efficient dispute resolution systems, both domestically and internationally. We are truly excited to have you share your insight, to have you here with us, ma'am, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Katlego and Mrs. Ma'am Dr. Deepika Saini, for allowing me to feature again in the Institute podcast programs. And I'm hoping we are going to have a great time and learn from each other and discuss future prospects in the field of ADR.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is a pleasure to have you with us today. Now, as we jump to the ADR aspect of things, ma'am, I see that you've worked on disputes in both both the oil and the gas sector, which we know can be incredibly high stakes which we know can be incredibly high stakes. From your experience, what is it about energy disputes that makes them so uniquely complex compared to other commercial disputes?
Thank you for the question. When it comes to oil and gas, it's a field whereby we have complex issues being handled, which are not short-term, and we cannot look at it from a perspective of day-to-day engagements in terms of trade and what people do. So they are complex in that they run for a long period of time. Let's say they can run for a period of even up to 30 years. From the point the oil is discovered and they start exploring, and getting it and drilling and all that. So there's a lot at stake and a number of people involved from the government. Currently in Kenya, we have the national government, county government, and you also have the local community. All these people and their interests have to be put at stake when you start to explore that field. So it comes with complexity in that it touches a lot of interest from the governing bodies to the people of that area. So we look at it from a point of the complexity vary from the supply, from demand, from financial matters, and the interest of people at play has to be put on the table to be listened to. So most of the time, we have the issue of the factors at play. Maybe they are complex. Like I've said, they run for a long period of time. Let us look at the time factor. Day-to-day activities, you go buy, sell, and that is, you disagree with the shopkeeper, you discuss, and you let it go. You decide maybe you sold to me a good that is not, that has expired. You negotiate and realize, I refund your money next time, I'll sort it out, and you finish it. This one, the time factor, that it runs for the long period of time, and these legal agreements that have to be put in place, because remember, ADR is governed by agreements. We have agreements that are in place, and these agreements have clauses on how dispute has to be resolved. That's the weighty part when it comes to agreements in terms of trade or in terms of transactions and any relationship. So the dispute resolution, you have to have a legal agreement between probably the host government and the host government and the contractor, whereby we have production sharing contracts. These are called PSCs, production sharing contracts. The agreements have to be in place, and they run for the long period of time. And you have to understand how you're going to ensure from the time production is done to the time the profits are shared, who is getting what and what is going to go where. That is the main thing that has to be put when I discuss about time factor. Someone would ask, what is a PSC or production sharing contracts? Production sharing contracts, these, like I've said, there are agreements on between the host government and the contractor. The contractor can be a local person, can be a foreign person, probably a company contracted to come and take part in producing or understanding the process from the production to when we get the final product, which is the oil. So most of the time in PSC, the government retains ownership of the resource. So when we have a contract, it does not mean the government decides, I'm giving out what is mine. This is a natural resource owned by the government. So the government retains the resource, and the contractor is paid after they start extracting the oil and the oil is what will cover the cost and the profit. So, for example, another example I would use maybe for a lay person to understand, farming on shares. Someone has a farm, they cannot be able to farm. And then someone comes and says, I have the tools, I'll farm, I'll bring the seeds, I'll plant and everything. And when you get the profits, I give you this number of bags and I take this. So that is what, in simple terms, we mean by production sharing contracts. The government retains the resource, and we have the contractor being paid from what will be gotten from the production of the oil. And it is split in a number of ways. Probably we have the royalty, where the contractor makes profit or not, they still pay a small percentage. For the mere fact that we've given you an opportunity to come and mine in our land, so there's a small percentage you pay. There's also the cost of oil, where you can also, the contractor will earn. The contractor takes a percentage of the remaining oil for incurred exploration costs. So I've used a certain number of this is the much I've invested in this project. This is the percentage I'm going to get. So the contractor takes a certain percentage. And also we can have from the profit oil, where the profit has come, and that profit now it is divided based on the number of levels where it's being managed. Like we have I've said we have national government. The national government governs all the county governments, which is the head. So probably it will take the highest percentage. We have the county government, where the county in which the oil has been found, and you find that's where it's going to be mined, and or rather, that's where the company goes to get the oil from. So the county government will still get a
percentage.
And after that percentage, we also have local community, which will also take the lowest percentage. So the national government takes the highest percentage, the county government takes the lowest percentage, the next percentage, and the local community will get the lowest percentage, which most of the time it is put in a trust fund to benefit the entire community. And in one way or another, you find the local community is prioritized in terms of being given opportunities and the jobs to work in the contractor will be told, prioritize the local community to do the job for you. So basically, that is what happens when we talk about production sharing contracts, which run for a long time. And that's how it benefits from the national government to the county government and to the local government. So the only challenge now we have is how do we draft contracts that will adequately address the issues? How do we project, like this contract, or rather this project runs for a period of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Are we able to draft contracts that foresee the challenges that are likely to come in the future? And we factor in terms of these challenges, definitely where challenges arise, that's where conflicts arise and disputes arise. So you draft a contract that will be able to factor in future challenges that will arise and bring disputes, and having a way that addresses these challenges to ensure that in case of future disputes, we are able to address them in a better way. So arbitrators often have to interpret the stabilization clauses and hardships in ways that maybe local courts are not able to. You project, because a court handles a matter when it's brought to it.
Exactly.
And maybe past experiences and evidences. But now in the future, you see, you're projecting a future dispute, and you need to have a contract that will cater for the future dispute. So that is the complexity when it comes to oil and gas and how disputes are going to be resolved. So we have to have a way that we have contracts that are able to cater for future disputes. And that is the only way we can have a clear path when it comes to dealing with complexity in the fields that such as oil and gas.
Yes.
So I talked about time factor, the sovereign element. So many disputes involve a state or national oil company, there's an international oil company. This is just not a normal company. It is a blend of, probably you have issues of administrative law, investment treaty law, and contract law. So the arbitrator must navigate the state's right to regulate the way I've said, knowing what level of government regulates what and what is to be put in place. And you look at a whole place, not only disputes, you also have to, it features it touches on other areas like environment protection. So the investors, and you also look at the investor's legitimate expectation. So you don't just get into it or draft, look at the investor's expectation. Is their expectation legitimate? How are they going to benefit in case of conflict or disputes? How are we going to deal with it? So all that is put into place, and you need to consider it in such complexities. We also have the technical layer where we have technical terms, and you need to factor all these people, bring people on board who understand the field, and they are able to tell you or project for you. So you don't just come in with your knowledge, you also have to bring in other parties who understand the field very well to deal with the technical terms, to deal with the projections, so that you're able to come to a clear path when you're projecting the disputes in the complex fields like oil and gas.
That's beautifully said, ma'am. And it does sound quite complex. I don't have much knowledge on the field and the sector, but from what you've said now, does sound very complex. And like you said, as arbitrators, we need to factor in a lot, a lot of the points you mentioned. And thank you so much, ma'am. I find
Thank you.
your involvement in space law so fascinating because it's such an emerging and futuristic area. As commercial space activities continue to grow, what kind of disputes do you think we're likely to see more of? And do you feel that our current dispute resolution systems are actually ready for that shift?
When you look at air and space, it is a field that has been there, but probably being dealt with from a different perspective, whereby currently we've seen it as an emerging technology, because what I'm trying to focus on, we've had autonomous systems getting into air and space law. Before we had piloted aircraft. And piloted aircrafts, of course, they had laws, and current laws revolve around knowing that a human is involved. But now we have a new emerging technology, pilotless aircrafts, the drones. A good example, let me use the drones or unmanned aircrafts. It's a new technology coming in, which has to be factored. And most of the time, we have the challenge of technology moving faster than the law. So probably we have disputes that we don't have a clear way of resolving them with the current laws that we have, because technology keeps on moving faster than the existing laws. So when you talk about space, it is no longer about the states' flags, astronauts. It's about also the GDP which it brings on board, because it plays a part, each and every activity. Any country would look at it, what is it bringing on board? When I talk about GDP, what do I mean? I mean gross domestic product. And it is the receipt of everything a country produces and sells in a year. So in these operations, air and space law, we have this new technology that is emerging, which I'll try to focus on that as opposed to the traditional way. We have challenges of autonomous systems failing in one way or another. When they fail, who is to answer to the failure, or who is to take responsibility for the failure of these emerging technologies? Definitely, a dispute arises. And I should have started by saying, any interaction we have, the world is not a one-man's island. And anytime there's interaction between one person and another, you'll definitely have a dispute arising in one way or another. So anytime there's interaction, because we cannot just assume that these are autonomous systems coming into airspace and they are left to operate on their own. In one way or another, there has to be a dispute, because they might fail in one way or another. Maybe a satellite launch in a multi-million-dollar project, it fails. When it fails, so who is to be blamed? A private player, or the company, or manufacturer? Where is it left? Or is it even the country that is supposed to be held responsible? So you'll find that maybe it has been launched by country A. It causes havoc or fails in country B. So you find a dispute arising between country A and country B, trying to understand who is going to respond to this, who is going to pay for this. Maybe it was launched on this country A, people have been harmed in country B, death has been caused. So there's challenge, and that's where I come back to what I said earlier. We need to have a way of forcing disputes, ADR in the new emerging fields, and allow it to find a place to sit and even foresee the future conflicts and disputes, and be able to have a way to address them. So anytime we are speaking about technology outpacing the law, we also say we are going to use this law to govern this. But then again, where do we bring ADR and ensure this issue can be resolved through ADR? So we have issue of resource utilization. Maybe space resources. We have resources in the space, and people can say, since I can travel to the space, or my country, I'm able to travel to the space, I go there and claim something. How do you claim something? in space. So who is the owner of space?
Exactly.
Basically, we have laws that govern maybe space, jurisdiction from this and this point, this country, you need to understand when we make claims to space, when you can make claims for the challenges, for the failures that have been caused by space, who is to be liable? When anyone wants to travel to space, who is to claim? The Outer Space Treaty currently provides that no one can claim sovereignty of space. You can't go and claim that this space is mine. You go to Mars, assuming India or Kenya goes to Mars and says, I'm claiming sovereignty of Mars. Mars is mine. Nobody should come in. Nobody should come and take anything. So you start battling or having dispute. No, I got here first. Oh, you came here last. So those are the challenges. But a company can go, like we have Elon Musk moving to space and being able to understand how the space works, the operations, sending people there. We've seen companies taking people to space to understand how the space is. And so a company can go and claim ownership, and it goes there. But then again, it's also when something happens. You see, sometimes the challenge comes in and the dispute arises when maybe this company that has gone and started utilizing what is on space, the operations, when it's moving to space, coming back, and the operations might cause havoc to other people. So that's where we have conflicts, and conflicts should be looked at from that perspective. When you're bringing ADR, these are the conflicts that are likely. No country can claim based on the Outer Space Treaty. But when a company goes, a dispute is likely to arise due to the operations that are taking place or are conducted by that company. And we have to have a clear way of solving them. I'm not pinning a particular issue because so far we haven't had an issue or space dispute being resolved through arbitration, which I'm researching to find one so that I can argue from a point of, but I'm speaking from a point of foreseeability. And having a way to bring ADR in these issues, foreseeability of emerging technology and how ADR can be used to resolve the dispute. So are our mechanisms ready? If I may ask, I would say yes and no. Because we have, for example, the Headspace Resources Governance Working Group, and you also have the Permanent Court of Arbitration for arbitration disputes relating to outer space activities. The gap that might be existing is that we need more arbitrators who understand technical aspects of space. The same way I've said, the challenge we have, it's an emerging technology. Exactly. We need to have people who are getting into that field to understand it so that foreseeable disputes are able. The current courts can still accommodate those disputes. The challenge would be, do we have the experts who are able to address these issues and resolve them fully and incorporate them in ADR? That's the biggest question we should be having because the mechanisms are there.
Exactly.
However, we need more experts and we need to incorporate ADR into emerging technology.
Beautifully said, ma'am. And I agree with you when you say more arbitrators are needed who are experts in this field to be able to foresee and project disputes that may arise so that we may prepare ourselves beforehand. Ma'am, alongside your professional practice, you're also pursuing a PhD, as you just mentioned, you're researching, which is such as an impressive balance that you're doing. Could you please share what your research is focusing on and how that academic work connects with the real-world disputes you handle in arbitration in complex sectors?
My PhD is in air and space law, like you have mentioned, and I'm trying to look at the emerging technology, even though I'll try to avoid discussing more because it's a work in progress, which maybe in finality, I would really look forward to come back and discuss it further.
Definitely.
The way I've said before in discussing an emerging technology whereby we are pursuing ADR and pushing ADR as a way or a mechanism of solving dispute as much as possible to even emerging technology, and you are placing it as a tool to resolve dispute in the foreseeable future. So currently, like I've said, I'm still trying to understand any of the disputes in this emerging technology like air and space law that has been resolved by ADR. So that we have a starting point or we have a precedent. And if it's not there, I've said we have people even from different places. Currently in Kenya, arbitrators are trained from all fields. So one cannot say, simply because I'm in the field of law, that's why, or maybe I can only be the only person who is pursuing. You cannot be a jack of all trades. I cannot be good in legal matters. I need experts in engineering. I need experts in space. I need experts in all fields. And all these fields, first of all, we need to sensitize the public or other professions to get into arbitration so that the expertise can be needed. So I'm trying to look at this emerging technology and the likelihood of situations whereby a dispute arises or a problem arises. Who is to resolve the dispute? Who is to bear the responsibility? And are we well equipped enough to resolve this dispute? I'm trying to understand an emerging technology like autonomous system getting into air and space, and then an accident happens. Who is to bear responsibility?
Exactly.
In summary, that's what I'm trying to understand. Who is to bear the responsibility? And this responsibility, it can be a criminal matter or a civil matter. And these ones are, most of the time, they'll be taken to courts and to try and analyze who is to bear the responsibility. They calculate the damages, and maybe one party wins. But then again, and it's a good thing you asked this question, because I had not looked at it from a perspective of maybe even when I was doing it, can we include arbitration as a way of solving this? And these matters be moved away from court and say, in case of dispute, we take this to arbitration and you are able to solve the problem. So we have like a tension between states' right to regulate, to meet issues, the connection to practice, and we try to understand in simple terms an emerging technology that I'm researching on, who is to bear responsibility, and how do we bring ADR into it, as opposed to the normal way whereby it's prescribed or this country is to respond to the matter. They are taken to court. ICJ or country A has launched an autonomous system. Country B has been harmed. We go to normal courts. How about we get to the arbitration centers that have been set up internationally to try and understand and resolve this dispute? Like I said, I'm trying to avoid to discuss much about my PhD in entirety, but I look forward to having it being incorporated into ADR.
Okay, that's beautiful, ma'am. And I wish you all the best. I believe it will be a fruitful research. And we are looking forward to getting to know more about your research in depth once everything is finished, ma'am. Looking ahead, especially with the rise of emerging industries like space commerce and evolving energy landscape, how do you see dispute resolution adapting to handle disputes that are becoming more technical, global, and unprecedented?
How do we address future disputes? We are not looking at getting into ADR because most people get into ADR, and the narrative that has been going around is the issue of faster, cheaper.
Exactly.
Those are the narratives that ADR ride on. Everyone tells you, go to ADR. And when I mean ADR, I mean mediation, arbitration. And everyone is just telling you, it's faster, it's cheaper. It's faster, it's cheaper. The narrative everyone knows and runs. But then again, we look at it from a broader perspective where we are talking about the technical competence. How are we able to bring on board competent people? Their procedural adaptability. How are we able to adapt to the procedural process of these emerging issues in the future? Because we cannot just go to ADR or rely on ADR from a perspective of it's faster and it's cheaper. We have to look at the broader perspective, bring on board as many people as possible who have the expertise to handle these matters. So we have specialists. All along in the talk, I've emphasized on bringing on board experts. Experts. Put experts. We can only have a brighter future in ADR if we encourage more experts to come on board from different fields. That way, any emerging technology in whatever field, no matter how noble it is, we are able to have an expert to direct us. Yes, we have experts in the legal field who will guide us and explain the law. We have the judiciary, which will help us to interpret the law. But experts will help us understand technical terms, because even as a practitioner in the legal field, you'll be understanding this is how the law works. This is the procedural part of the law, substantive part of the law. Then you have not studied anything to do with engineering. You'll just be explaining it from a plain view, from a point whereby there are technical terms that you need. For example, if I may use an example of an autonomous system. It's only an expert who understands algorithm. It's only a manufacturer who manufactures this autonomous system can come on board and tell you when this thing is manufactured, it is at this point that is likely to cause dispute.
Exactly.
From this point, or rather, there's no way this would have caused a dispute or an issue if the manufacturer would have played their part. So it is even easier to bring out and understand who is to be blamed, who is to experience, who is to bear the blame, who is to be paid, and up to what amount. Because if we do not have experts in whatever field, and the reason why I'm using an example from the field that I'm in is because I'm walking through the journey so that I'm able to bring someone in the medical field. Imagine resolving a medical dispute and you do not have a medic or someone in the medical field who understands the operations of the hospital, who understands the medical procedure. It will be difficult to say we are having a great future in arbitration if we do not include experts.
Exactly.
So sensitization on ensuring that experts are brought on board who understand everything that happens in each and every field. They don't have to take arbitration entirely, but the little knowledge they have in arbitration, they'll come in understanding the processes and knowing what to say and beefing up the case and ensuring that whoever is pursuing justice, whoever is seeking compensation, they are compensated fully because they are not denied an opportunity to know by someone who was not an expert being brought on board, and they said whatever they said because that's the expertise. We need to bring experts on board. So what would I need to add in terms of, like I've talked about experts, another emerging technology is AI. We also need experts in AI to understand how AI works. We also look at multi-tiered clauses, which maybe are likely to become hyper-specialized. For example, the future dispute clauses won't just say arbitration in London. They will specify for technical satellite orbit disputes, the tribunal shall include so and so. Because you're including from the onset that we are going to bring experts. So by the time the arbitration has started and you're having conflicts and challenges of even understanding, from the onset you knew very well, we are getting into a contract that revolves around this field. This is the expert that will be brought on board, and the expert from this field will be able to help us. And because remember, these transactions, most people are investors, and investors just gets in. This investor might not have an idea or of any other information or anything. They are investors. Maybe you need a lawyer, or you need a tech savvy, you need a medic, or you need this person. So from the onset, the clauses, or rather the contract, the arbitration contract clauses should have a way to accommodate future prospects and include experts. Generally, what I'm trying to say, a future whereby we have experts from all fields to be brought on board to understand where, or rather to take arbitration to the right direction and be able to solve disputes from a point of knowledge and expertise. So we also have like institutions, maybe institutions can also work together. For example, we can see, probably we look at what happens in India and what happens in Kenya, or rather East Africa. We have these institutions to collaborate and work together and train arbitrators, borrow and exchange notes on how we are able to solve these issues from your field, because we have some countries that have very good experts, other countries very good experts. So we have institutions as well coming together and working together and being able to train arbitrators and practitioners and forge the way forward, so that we are working together as global village, not just keeping information for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on that last point, which is one of the features that we have as Africans, which is Ubuntu. We are who we are because togetherness, like you said, it's a global village. Let us help each other, learn from one another. And I think that's beautifully said, ma'am. Ma'am, for the sake of time, there's 2 minutes left on the Zoom meeting. If you have maybe 30 seconds of advice, I would appreciate, and then we can close it up.
I would advise young people to venture into emerging technology and to understand that disputes can be resolved through alternative means. And we can only get better at learning and understanding. Emerging technology causes the law to always run behind technology. So our job as arbitrators is to shorten that gap and ensure that by the time the rocket lands on the moon or the satellite goes into the orbit, there's a clear, fair, and efficient way to resolve the disputes that will inevitably follow. What I would say about today's talk is that what I've emphasized, we ensure in emerging technologies, we are moving towards it. We might not catch up with it to run in tandem when it comes to law, but we can always close the gap and encourage that more people who are well conversant in the field are brought on board, and we will be able to resolve disputes and also understand and make better how we prepare our arbitration clauses and agreements, where a future we don't get stranded on what to do when the dispute has arrived. We have a clear path of resolving the dispute even before it arrives.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Beautifully said. And for everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope our conversation with Ms. Sheillah has truly enlightened you on the importance of gaining experts, in each field and training them in arbitration so that foreseeability of disputes is much easier and much easily handled. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you on the next episode.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।